God spoke to me through a shawl. Welcome to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Cola, where we talk about life, love, and language. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Let's get into today's topic. People are always saying God speaks all the time. We just have to be open to hearing him. Now, I don't know how God speaks to you, but this week, God spoke to me through this shawl. And I was really excited to do this video once I understood the lesson that was being taught. And now I'm open to hearing God anyhow, anywhere, but through some fur, y'all, I did not listen. This is not how I thought he would speak to me, but I'm actually really grateful for the lesson. So, why this shawl, right? This is, look how pretty it is. There's a pocket on this side. Let me show it off first. There's beautiful bridal satin in here. And then there's a pocket on this side. And it can be worn many different ways. One shoulder, off the shoulder. Or it can be worn like this, keeping us warm. Now I'll probably hold it like this for the rest of the video, but let's get into it. So this is a beautiful shawl. My sister and I have the same shawl, essentially, when you look from the outside. From the outside, it is burgundy. It is the same length. And the best part about the shawl is we made it. My sister and I took our time and hand-stitched it. And this all came because I'm headed to a wedding tomorrow. So I'm flying out of my province. I'm in Canada, so from one province to another province, about a 5-hour flight from Ontario to British Columbia, and I'm headed to a wedding. And I needed shoes for this wedding, but I didn't have shoes, and I didn't necessarily have the funds that I wanted to buy the shoes, right? And the one thing that I love that God does is He has blessed me abundantly with creativity. And so I can take many situations and turn it around in a creative way. Now, being who I am, I was like, okay, with the money that I do have, how can I make this work? How can I turn this story around? And I'm like, hey, why don't I just make some fur slides? Because I have slides I have a blue pair, I have a yellow pair, and I actually love them. It just fancies up my outfit. And so what I wanted is to make fur slides, but I didn't know what color I was going to go with yet. The colors of the wedding are actually burgundy. But I could have done black, could have done anything. So we head to our local fabric store, and this beautiful piece of fur jumped out at me. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So we get the material. In total, it was like $7. We get the material to go make these shoes. But we had so much material that I made a pair of shoes. Like, we covered some sandals that we had with slides or with the fur. My sister got a pair, and she also was able to cover her like strappy heel sandals too. Out of it, I was able to make a couple more items. I made a purse. Anyways. So out of this one material, I made multiple things. So abundance, right? But the abundance is coming in the form of material. And we had this piece left over, and we're like, oh, it's so pretty. We kind of just like threw it around us. We're like, oh, that'd be so nice. It was like a nice little shawl, right? And then when I tried on the outfit that I have for the wedding, I was like, oh, I actually want a shawl to go with this. And so we headed back to the fabric store, got some more fabric. And even in the fabric that we got, the lady who was working with us, she's like, you know what? I'm going to give you more. Like, I'm going to only charge you one set price, but I'm going to give you extra material. And so abundance and favor, even in getting material. And so we get this material to make this one item. It started off with the slides, then it turned into, like I said, I have a bracelet, I have a purse, my sister has a purse, my sister has some slides, and then we decided we're going to do these shawls. We've never made these shawls before, had no clue where to go, what to do, but we had the idea to make these shawls. And so when we got to the store, we went back to the store, it just so happened that they only had, so we needed probably about 6 meters or 3 meters. Sorry, we needed probably about 3 meters of material. Now, all that they had left was 7. And so she said, hey, just take the 7, or take the 6, actually double, take the 6. And so we just finished it. We just took the whole roll and decided we're going to make these shawls. And then at the same time, we had to go back because we had to get some satin for the inside so that it looks pretty. And so here's what happened. We had this idea to make these shawls, right? And we're like going along and praying, and so we start sewing it. Now, mind you, again, never made this before, but we're trusting that along the way we will figure it out. So we watched some YouTube videos just to get an idea of how to start, and we start making this thing day one. And now on day one, what happens is my sister pretty much finished most of hers in the first day that we made this. And I had only finished one side. I had like one of these long sides. I had only completed, not even one side. I finished like half. I finished like I was so far behind. Let me say that. When she was done, I still had over half the fur left to do. And I felt really bad. I was like, man, look how fast you're going. Look how quickly you're able to move through this. I'm moving too slow. I'm doing it the wrong way, or I'm just taking too much time to get it. I just need to be quicker. And I was sewing them really close together because I really wanted it to stay. But I was just moving at a slower pace. And it bothered me that I was moving at a slower pace. But what happened on day 2 was I was like, oh, I want pockets. I always love a good pocket. And so I decided to create a pocket. Now, I created the other pocket first. The one on this side. This pocket right here, created that one first. Now, here's what happened. As I create the pocket, I sewed it together because I have a sewing machine. So I did use the sewing machine for the pockets to get the zipper on and all that because I didn't want to hand sew that. So I sewed it together, but I sewed it the way, because my sister had already finished hers when I decided I want a pocket. She made a pocket, but then she had to like cut hers to insert it. So hers ended up being like an inside pocket. Well, because I wasn't done yet, mine ended up being like an outside pocket. And I was like looking at hers and I'm like, man, I really want an inside pocket, but I didn't know how to do the inside pocket. And I was just like, that's so sucky. Like I was looking at hers and I was watching it and I was like, man, I really wish mine was inside. And the whole time I'm like talking to myself, I'm like, so I'll explain this. From when I was young, I've always done things opposite of people. I've always done things what they call backwards. I've always done things in a backwards way. Some people, simple example, people find addition and subtraction really easy. I find adding and subtracting hard. What I find easy is multiplying and dividing. So in life, sometimes the more complex things, I find it really easy. But the things that are simpler to understand, I find it complex. I read things backwards. I've just been known in the family to be the one to do things backwards. And so as we're doing this, and I'm like, man, she did hers the wrong way. I did mine backwards. I'm again starting to like feel bad about myself and why do I do things backwards? God, why am I like this? I'm literally asking like, why am I like this? Why is this my life that I do everything backwards? Can't I just do things right for once? And it became this real frustration. As much as I loved the process of making this, as much as it was stress-free for the most part, like the more stress was just trying to figure out what side to make sure I'm sewing things right or to make sure my stitching is correct. But like I was frustrated that I was doing things backwards, and so I ended up with this outside pocket. Now when I say it's outside, I mean like you can see the pocket. Most jackets, you have a zipper, your hand is inside the pocket. Mine is an outside pocket. But what this outside pocket did is it created a space right here. So essentially, out of my one thing that I thought was upside down, I ended up getting 2 pockets out of one. Okay, follow me. I know it's kind of like I'm up and down. Then I decided, because I had 2 white zippers, I decided from early that I wanted 2 pockets, one on either side. Now this pocket, I kind of joked about wanting a fur pocket, but I was like, it's whatever, I won't do it. Now, when I went to go sew this one, I sewed it from scratch, and like I did the top first. On this pocket, I did the sides first, did the top last. It was a little bit more challenging. So this one, I said, okay, I'm going to do the top first, sides last. Well, in that, somehow I ended up sewing it backwards. And I was like, frustrated with myself again. I said, again, I'm doing things backwards. But then what I did was, because I wanted this side not to show, I decided, you know what? Sorry. Ooh, hair. To cover up what I did wrong, I'm going to put this fur on top. And so the whole time I stayed in solution mode. If I did something incorrect, if I did something backwards, instead of like taking it out and restarting, I said, we're going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to figure out a way to make it work for me. Now, because of that mindset, I ended up with a really cool fur pocket on this side. And again, because it's an outside pocket, this also has a space. So I ended up with like a double pocket on this side. So here's the thing. My mother had taught us to sew when we were younger. And so she was coming in and looking at the design and giving her ideas of how to best sew it. Because I hadn't finished my work, I was able to sew and hide a lot of the seams on the inside of this lining. Whereas because my sister was already finished, anything she wanted to make differently, she would have to cut it or just change it in that way. But because I wasn't done yet, because I didn't close everything up yet, I was still able to maneuver and get things done in a way that hides a lot of the imperfections that I had made, that I had seen that I had made wrong with this. And again, the whole time, I'm just so frustrated with me being backwards, because I'm like, your whole life, you show up backwards. Why must you continue to show up backwards? I need you to start doing things the correct way. And my mom and sister were very much like, no, I mean, yes, you do things backwards, but that's your creativity. That's how your brain works. That's how you're able to get things done. That's how you're able to move ahead. Like, you're so creative in that way that you just push the boundaries on certain things. And because I was so frustrated with not being normal, I wasn't seeing it like that. I was just like, no, I need to do this differently. Until the third day. On the third day, I started to get a flow. And what once was taking me a long time, I was able to finish much faster. So one of these sides took me like a whole day. But by the third day, I was able to finish it really quick. I was able to finish it within a couple hours. It didn't take me as long because I understood the flow of the material. I understood what needed to get done. I understood how things were supposed to go. And I understood what they needed to be. Now, we went out and we added snaps to these to close it. And again, because I had taken a long time on this, or taken longer than I typically do, my snap ended up being a lot more hidden on my fur. It's right here. But when I was sewing it, you can't see it here because I didn't finish yet. Now, let me get to the revelation part of what God was teaching me. Beyond the fact that he was affirming my identity as I did this fur, this shawl, he was reminding me that, yes, my sister and I, we started off in the beginning with the exact same material, the exact same length. Everything was the same. And on the outside, you can't even tell really that they're that different. But on the inside, the little details that I did, the creativity that going slow allowed me to have, it looks so different. It looks vastly different. To the point that my sister actually wanted, as much as I wanted her pockets, she wanted my pockets because of the creativity that I had. And she's like, you're so creative. She's like, you're sitting here wanting what I have, but she's like, but you inspired me to do something different. You influenced me to want to do it like yours because of your sheer creativity that could only have come out of the way that I did it, the way that I had put it together. So God was affirming my identity that yes, I may do things backwards, but I'm not wrong. And I'm not a backwards person. I'm just different, and embracing my uniqueness, embracing my differences, embracing creativity as a form of who I am and how he made me, versus feeling like condemned and feeling not good enough and feeling like frustrated with myself. Because if I go through life fighting against me, then I've done the enemy's job. I've done the work of all the other people. They don't have to fight me if I'm fighting myself. And so the first thing I had to do was stop fighting myself. The first thing I had to do is accept the fact that, yes, I do things different. It's okay to acknowledge that I'm different. But in my differences, there's beauty in it. There's so much uniqueness to it. Not to mention that I ended up with like really creative pockets from this custom made work that I did that couldn't have come if I had moved quickly. If I had finished the whole sewing the whole thing on the first day, either A, these other creative ideas wouldn't have come, or two, it might have been a little bit more challenging for me to go back and do it. But because I hadn't finished, it was complex enough. But because I hadn't finished, I was able to work it into the design. And isn't it just like God, that as we mess up, as we screw up, as we do things what we consider backwards, that he already has the solution. He already has a workaround. He already has a plan. And in the end, when we get through the journey, when we go through the process, nobody's, outside of me telling this video, nobody's going to know of the hardship and the backwardsness and all the extra things that I went through unless I tell them the story. All they're going to see is a beautiful work of art. All they're going to see is the finished product. And that's what our lives is. When we get to the end, people need to see the finished product. People need to be influenced by the work that we do, by the ideas, by the creativity that we have. There's not only one way. Like, people, reading the Bible is one way that you can speak, that God can speak to you, but he can also speak to you through the things that you do in your day-to-day life, in your job, and in phone calls that come through, and just work. Like, God is everywhere, and all the time he's speaking. We just have to catch the lessons that he's showing us. And so this was a really beautiful way for God to affirm me this week, for him to remind me that it's a process, it's a journey, but it's not for nothing. I do not regret making this. At the end of the day, now that we're done everything, I do not regret making this. I do not regret the abundance that we have. I do not regret that, as rich as it looks, it didn't cost me as much as if I had just went out and purchased it. That there's beauty in crafting things. There's beauty in creating things. There's beauty in taking the talents that he's given us and using it for a different purpose. We just got to figure out sometimes what that is and silence all the other noise. The other thing that came in real handy with this is being focused. Sometimes we're so distracted by everything, helping this person, that person, this person. I was so focused for those 3 days getting this done. I barely took any phone calls. I had like TV or music in the background, but my vision and the way I was looking was to complete this work. This is what I needed to finish. And it doesn't mean that we don't stop to help other people, because if my sister needed help with hers, I would stop and help. It just means that we can't get so distracted by life. I wasn't even really on social media like that. We can't get distracted by the things going on around us, that we don't complete what is in front of us. We don't complete what is necessary. And so now it is ready. It is ready for the wedding. How prophetic is that? It is ready for the wedding. We are all working towards being prepared for our bridegroom. We're all working towards being loved and being accepted by other people. But what we need to do is focus on being loved and accepted by us and by God. It is not about other people. It is not about all the fights. It is not about all the things that went wrong. It's about us really, truly understanding that we are God's creation, that we are a work in progress, and it might go slow. The world around us might be going fast. Things might be moving really fast around us. We might be hearing all these people talk about, oh, they started this and overnight it was a success. But there's beauty in things that go slow. There is so much beauty in the things that don't go fast, because when you go slow for a season, you're able to see, you're able to put things together intricately, and then you may enter a season where what once was slow is now in the flow of God, and it moves. And it moves so beautifully. And so sometimes I look at my life right now. I look at all the things that have not worked out. I look at how I wanted to be in a different space, how I wanted to be in a different place. Physically, yes. Mentally, emotionally, there's so much work to do, but I can't look at the work. What I'm going to focus on is the process. What I'm going to focus on is the journey. What I'm going to focus on is the creativity and using every skill that I have to make that come to pass. This was one of the coolest lessons that he taught me recently. And I've been feeling like a lot of things have been going slow. And I've been like, come on, pick up the pace, do it faster. And honestly, I'm grateful for the slow season. I'm grateful for things moving at a pace that I'm able to manage. I'm grateful for things not being overwhelming. I'm grateful for things being in a place where I can enjoy I can see the abundance, and I can enjoy, hey, that was God's favor on that. That was God's favor on this. And just watching how it all comes to pass in the end. And so I'm off, y'all, to a wedding. I will definitely post pictures. I'm not really on Instagram anymore, but I'll post it to the community page so y'all can see how everything turned out. But this is one of the coolest things that I've done recently, and I'm so grateful for this lesson. I pray this was a blessing. Listen, we all have things to work through, and if you need help working through it, check the message that's about to come next. Y'all loves, and have a great day. Ooh, one last thing before the message comes. I would say, what is God saying to you? Figure that out. What is he saying to you? What is that message? What is that lesson that he's showing you? What is God saying to you? Because when you know that and you move in that way, everything else will fall into place. And don't let people change your voice. Don't let them change who you are. Let them affirm exactly who you were meant to be, because that is the place of beauty.